Troy, do you want us to get started? We're
yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about what we're doing moving forward, and as far as maybe sponsorship. One thing that was that worked out really well is that we try to partner with other individuals, whether just on the sponsorship or maybe a guest speaker. And what happened was that actually increased the number of viewers and the number of interest. So if anyone that has a solid network that's willing to maybe participate in supporting some of these events, go ahead and post your information, and I'll go ahead and grab it. Or maybe can say, do we have a, go ahead and send it to the host and panelist option in your chat. So we're always open to do that. And the other thing too is we'll go ahead and put our connection information in there, and feel free to send a connection request. Just let us know that you were on the show, because we get a lot of connection requests and we don't really accept everyone, because we just try to avoid some of the spammers and stuff like that, if you know what I mean. But if you do that, we can kind of connect with you and kind of see what we can do to kind of make some things work there. So I appreciate that. There's a lot of opportunity, and that same opportunity, I was talking to a friend of mine, Jean Michel, and he's actually another LinkedIn guy. And so he will be speaking next month. And so he will be a panelist as well as a supporter and stuff like that. So we like these kind of relationships where everyone benefits. So it's a good thing.
Yeah, and it really is an opportunity to get in front of quite a few people. As we are now figuring this big experiment out, you'll see that the number of people that will be attending our events will grow pretty rapidly. Right now, our list is a little over 1,600. And then after every event, then the people on the current event get moved into the bigger list. And we're going to start to see numbers, because now we've gotten some, how do you want to say that? We've got enough people in that we're gaining momentum. So we're going to start seeing a lot more people. And so it's an opportunity really to get yourself, your business in front of a fairly large group of people, because we will promote you. We'll talk about you, probably bring you on the show. So you'll have an opportunity to talk a little bit about your business. And it's for the amount of effort on your part to get that level of exposure, it is kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So which will be explained to you. So
what I'm doing right now, I'm posting my information so people don't have to look for the LinkedIn. I do have a consultation, but that's a paid consultation in case you kind of need a 90 minutes, to help with some of your LinkedIn items. So it's pretty affordable. And so that's my information. The next person I'm going to put in is Ed's information in here.
Here, I can put all three. Here we go.
Oh, you can put all three.
Welcome, Andy. He's just up the road in Grand Rapids.
Awesome. Oh, you got it. You're so quick. All right. So if you wanted to go ahead and start the presentation, that'd be awesome.
All right. We will do that. I think that's it. And let's go to
awesome.
A lot of stuff I gotta get out of the way here. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Oh, come on now. Not that.
Zoom causes a lot of issues, I'm telling you.
Okay, here we go. All right, we got to go back a few slides. Here we go. Here we are.
All right. So let's go ahead and start with the first screen and go back. All right, awesome. So I think everyone can see that. So this is episode 2. One thing we're going to be switching is just the branding instead of your LinkedIn growth strategy, since we had so many people interested in speaking aspects of business and LinkedIn. We're kind of changing it to the Troy Show. I used to have a show once a week, and it was very popular, pretty interesting content, and we wanted to personally brand that. So next month it will be the Troy Show. It'll be EP3 though, so it's kind of continuing. So this, this show today, we're actually talking about using LinkedIn direct messages and kind of some strategies and best ways to use that, and as well as warm email and video mail. And then we actually added Lydia as well, so she can talk about CRMs and some of the stuff that she's done that was kind of really awesome. So so that's what we have for today.
There we go. There we go.
All right. So our sponsors, it's just us today. A little bit about me. I used to own an IT company called ISO Interactive. We developed Coca-Cola Enterprises, Xbox Mobile, a lot of gamification. And a number of years ago, these large Fortune companies that we did work for, they no longer used agencies, kind of tore these agencies apart and built it within, so Georgia works a little differently than these other larger states like New York and Illinois and California. So what we had to do is figure a way out to get clients. So I ran into a buddy of mine and I found out that he got all his clients through LinkedIn. This was a number of years ago. I couldn't figure out how, because my portfolio was much stronger than his. And I kind of, put it in his face and everything. And he says, it's all about relationships. And I realized I was a bad dater. And when I mean dating, I meant physically dating, I meant business dating, because I come from an engineering background. I really know a lot of times the answer before the question, and most people don't really work that way. So I was the weird one. So I had to break down a formula to kind of figure out how to engage with people. And that's kind of our route to the Troy agency and return client. Ed, do you want to speak a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Ed Forteau, and I am the email guy. My moniker is Mr. Deliverability, but we do a lot in the way of email automation so that you're able to be just more productive in the dating side of business and meeting people and pinpointing those opportunities where, especially in B2B, where you can develop the relationship, develop business partnerships, and get clients. And when we get to my portion, we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Awesome. Lydia, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi, I'm Lydia Sugarman. I'm in San Francisco. My company is Ventive, and it started under another name 20 years ago. This year, actually, as an email marketing application, and it's grown organically over the years to be a complete business platform. So what that means is, to keep in the dating analogy, it has all the tools deeply integrated to let you manage the entire customer life cycle from that first touch throughout the entire relationship.
Oh, I like how you tied that together. All right. Ed, do you want to go ahead to the next screen there? And if you want to go ahead, for some reason, I'm not seeing my video, Ed. Can you see me? Or
I can see you. You're on the side.
Oh, all right. Because on my screen, I just see you who's talking. Okay. As long as they see me, great.
Just a heads up, it looks like I cannot add any links while we're doing presentation mode. So we'll add the links once I get out of presentation mode here.
All right, I'll do my best.
Unless you
I'm actually
want to do
on
that.
2 screens right now, and I have the notes of the presentation.
Okay,
so
perfect.
I'll try to do my best to do that. So we're talking about, the first thing is direct messages, and how important the role is on LinkedIn. So in the past, people used to send a lot of direct messages, and including connection invites and conversations and things of that nature. And it became very unwieldy. And so sometimes a better strategy and less is more. So there's 4 points that we kind of want to just kind of put out there. When you're using direct messages, a lot of times they use it for, making connections, having conversations to book meetings, and then also landing clients eventually, but usually you pull them off of LinkedIn at that point, and then moving into other external systems, including CRMs, or using Zapier, or using different tools in order to kind of roll them off into a more permanent environment.
Hold on,
Yeah,
sorry,
I
there
should
we go.
say next. I'm so
No,
sorry.
I'm trying to click it. It's not moving forward.
Oh yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, Zoom is a little tedious like that. So there's some best practices when using direct messages and stuff like that, and a lot of it has to do with figuring out your target market. So we have a Boolean search. A lot of people use Sales Navigator. Sales Navigator is an extra tool. I don't know, it costs maybe $75, $80 a month, and it helps you really pinpoint your kind of ideal prospect, whether they're going to be a partner or a potential client and that sort of thing. But most people don't know how to use that search. So we have a free guide in a private community, and we also have another one for formulating LinkedIn messages and the thought process behind it. So that link that you see right there is that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that, since you're having a few issues, Ed, and for the Boolean, I'll put it to everyone there, and feel free to go ahead and join that private community. This information that we eventually put on LinkedIn, but the community usually gets it several weeks before. And the other link is just a straight link that's actually on LinkedIn right now, and it's an article. So what I tend to do is put out about 7 or 8 videos, and then with the information, and then I put an evergreen article that has all that information together. So along with direct messages, posting is a big activity, because you can actually post, your direct messages and talk about your post or integrate it depending on the conversation. So one big thing that always comes up is they want to know how, when, and what to post on LinkedIn. And so that's kind of a free resource there for you. So feel free to go ahead and check it out, open it up, and bookmark that. Now, this is going to be the bulk of my conversation before I give it to Ed. Ed is probably going to be the main speaker. So one thing I always do in these presentations is I talk about how to optimize LinkedIn. And so this little chart here has a lot of information. Again, the PDF will be available on the private on the private community that I gave the link to. So feel free to join that. But there's really like 7 different things. You see 6, but stacking your strategies is in the middle. So power of the power of a direct message. You can use it for good and evil, and a lot of people don't understand what's the difference. And there's a huge difference between being helpful, networking, and spamming. So a lot of times spamming is sending people information that they don't want, and you have to put the aspect of it's not what you want, it's what they want. And so you have to get to know that person before you send that information, or you kind of like using a shotgun approach, So you want to kind of be very, very careful with that, and especially your tactics. So marketers tend to want to push out volume instead of really interacting with that person. Speaking of interacting with a person, the second item is human systems. So what I mean by human systems, there's two different aspects. Number one is being human, and that's interacting and understanding and how to react to conversations. And the other part is having a systematic approach, but humans to do that. One thing LinkedIn doesn't like, they don't like a lot of automation, and they can detect that, and they will kind of buffer you when you do those type of things. So individual outreach really makes sense. Even if you have some kind of sequence set up, a lot of times it's better to kind of use those sequences as a base, because don't send a message blindly. A lot of times you want to see the past conversations, look at the profile, take a look at the post, or integrate, or interact with their post, so they kind of know you before you send a message. The third item is connecting with purpose. All right, so if you're just connecting to sell items to people, it doesn't work. LinkedIn does not work that way at all. LinkedIn works really well for actual networking. When I mean actual networking, again, it's getting to know that individual and moving from there. So if you're connecting with someone, a lot of times you're using maybe Sales Navigator for your initial search. Then you handpick those individuals and say, you know what, this person would be really great because he has great content, and I may have another strategy where he has such a great audience. I can interact with that audience as well. And it all depends on your strategy. Why am I producing this content? For example, my content is really to help people, and it's to be honest and provide value. And hopefully it's value to other people, not just me. If people see that I'm producing content that's actually valuable to them and if they need my services, they're more likely to kind of interact with me. You know, I'll skip to number 4, and we're talking about pre-engagement. Now, this is one of the key factors that a lot of people miss. Instead of just sending an invite out, you know, and having a certain 15 to 25% chance in conversions, wouldn't it be great to have a 75, 85% conversion on your connection request? You know, one way to do that, and it doesn't have to be through Sales Navigator, although I use that because that can create a little mini feed for me when I create a list. I'll hand pick an individual and I'll look at their post and I'll say, yeah, this is a person I want to get to know. And I pre-engage. I engage with their posts. And if they're active with their posts and they interact with you, they have a conversation with you and they actually know who you are or know you well enough. If you engage with someone just for a week, if you send them a connection invite the following week, especially if they engaged back with you, your numbers go all the way up 75, 80%. And not only do you connect with that person, they know you already, so that the relationship has moved an additional step, which is very, very important for actually doing business or helping other individuals, or even having them connect you with other people. You know, number 5 is Sales Navigator. We've already talked about that, so I'll kind of move on from that. And number 6 is moving off of LinkedIn. So moving off of LinkedIn is, there's sometimes an appropriate time to do that. When do you move someone off a CRM? You know, is it on a connection? It depends on your strategy. You know, is it when they show interest? You know, that sort of thing. It can be manually done, and there's systems that, you know, will be able to reduce the manual work on that. And then when should I kind of send them an email versus stop sending them, you know, a direct message? You know. And then what's your email strategy? And so I'm not going to talk about the email strategy. That's more of Ed's area. But the one item in the middle right here, when it talks about stack your strategies, you know, if you send a DM and you have a conversation and you got posts going on already, and say you post 3 times a week, you're going to have a library of information, of helpful information. A lot of times those conversations that come up, you could say, hey, yeah, I just did a post for that. Check it out. You know, it adds a lot of engagement. So you want to kind of stack some of your things that you're doing, even with email. So what we do with this event, a lot of times we'll post a month ahead. And so the posts that we did just recently are actually for the next event. So they drive interest. We're talking about doing a profile makeover because it's one of the first major things that you want to do to try to drive engagement. And then I said, it's great to have this conversation already happening beforehand. And then we can reuse those links to these posts or the video or YouTube or whatever it is to kind of engage prior. So we'll have an email strategy behind that, you know. Another thing too is there's a lot of different ways to kind of set these dominoes up. And so your efforts are really, really maximizing. For example, I think we have close to 2,000 people that have registered between last event and this event. And we have, you know, some drop off, but we still have 1,600 people that are interested. And every single month that number is going to get larger. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity, you know, when you create a DM strategy that kind of makes sense for your audience there. I think I'm done. So I'll hand it over to you, Ed. And this part talks about, you know, when to transition to a CRM, warm email, and / video mail. And I kind of want you to talk about video mail a little more because the conversions are different, you know, when you have that conversation with everyone.
Great. Well, thanks, Troy. And yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about video mail. All of this fits in the category of warm mail and text mail that you send off. Well, let's talk about video mail. Video, whether you do it in a DM or you do it in an email, stands out amongst any other type of email that you're going to send. It can be sent within a CRM. You can send it directly, which is what I recommend. You should make it personal to that individual and not create a general video and then blast that general video out to everybody. But if you're sending a, let's say, a DM that's a video DM, what's probably going to happen is, because it looks like a GIF in your messaging system in LinkedIn, it's going to get that person's attention, and if it's customized, they're going to watch it. Now, because it's video, that gives you it kind of binds a relationship better than if you just use a text message. And so a lot of the stuff that we're going to do, and what Troy talked about, is kind of a setup for starting to send warm email, whether you're sending it using a marketing app, a cold marketing app, or what I'm going to recommend you do is you use an email service provider or a CRM, and you have an email list and you're emailing the list. A lot of people don't think about email lists if they're a B2B service or a product provider. They're thinking, well, that's something that internet marketers do or e-commerce companies do. I can tell you right now, it works even better if you're in B2B. It doesn't take that much to get it set up, but it's certainly the direction that you should go in. And Troy, you were, I don't want to give away a secret of one of our colleagues, but you were talking to me yesterday about Larry and how he uses video, which I thought was, without giving away his
we had an
secrets.
interesting, and Larry has some great shows, by the way. So the conversation we had, and we were talking about it, and this has to go back to LinkedIn DM. When someone connected with me, we ran an experiment, and both of us kind of ran an experiment at the same time and didn't know it, right? And we wanted to figure out what was the conversion, So we did the engagement, the pre-engagement before the connection. The chance of those connections went up to about 80%. When we connected with that person, we sent them a personalized a welcome message. And the welcome message was really done on my phone. And so once we did that, they have a little option to actually submit a video in the LinkedIn app on the chat. And that personal engagement was about 15 seconds. I said, I just told them my name, and I appreciate the connection. Feel free to check out my profile. If there's any dots to connect, just let me know, or send a booking link my way. I'd love to have a conversation. And that was it. I didn't talk about what I did. I didn't sell them on anything. I just thanked them and gave a personal message. And if they take a look at my profile, if there really are any dots, they'll reach out to me. So I got about a third of those people booked. A third of the people that I sent a message to actually engaged to have a meeting. And it's because I target those individuals specifically, because they may be ideal to have some kind of a relationship with, and then I personalize that conversation. So hopefully that answers your question, Ed. Oh, and we do have some Q&A things. I think Lydia was going to answer a couple of them.
No, I made a mistake on that, but
I'll answer them then.
I also said we'd answer questions at the end.
Yeah, that's
we did. Okay,
probably best if we do that.
All right, we'll do that. We'll keep on asking questions, and we'll go ahead and answer at the end.
And so we were talking about different tools for capturing email addresses, because if you're going to send a warm email to somebody, you have to get their email address. And was it getprospect.io?
Yes.
Is one of the ones that you guys were talking about. It's an inexpensive tool that you can use. And when I'm able to, once we're off of the presentation screen, I'll add that link in there. I use a tool called Seamless AI. which is a bit expensive. It's I think it's at least $100 a month, maybe $150 a month to use that tool. So it may be a bit too pricey for some people, but there are other tools. If you Google them, you can find different tools out there. I think Get Prospect is a free tool, and there's a paid upgrade for getting those emails. And you want to use a couple different ways to get emails. Another way to check to make sure the emails are good. There's different verification tools. One of the ones that I use is called findthatlead.com. And they'll also help, that tool will also help you to find their email address. And that's a fairly inexpensive tool to use. So talking about email in general, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this, but there are over 300 billion emails sent every single day. And that's a big number to wrap your head around. 85% of those emails are spam. And I was just reading a report like last year, there were almost 310 billion emails sent every single day. And because there's so many emails sent and the percentage of spam is so high, that business email kind of gets caught up in that because spammers are using email automation. And businesses, if they're using email automation, they look like spammers. And so you've got to do some things to ensure that your email gets delivered. A lot of people push send and they just assume the email is getting delivered. A lot of times that just isn't the case. So I'm going to show you some things to ensure that you make sure you get your emails received. And I use this analogy because I tell people like 35% of their emails aren't getting delivered, and they're thinking, oh, okay, I understand, whatever. But imagine this, you go to a restaurant, you order a hamburger, a drink, and fries, and that's what you order, but they deliver a drink and fries, and there's no hamburger. Are you going to be happy with that meal? I'm not, because I don't like fries, and that looks like beer. I don't drink beer, and I don't drink pop, so there's nothing there for me. You really have to make sure that you're getting all your emails delivered. You can't measure things. You can't properly make adjustments on insufficient data, but most people do that. And I would urge you to ensure that your emails are getting delivered. We do a deliverability test. And if you want to reach out to me, I can offer the free one for you and give you a good indication of whether you're getting all your emails delivered or not. And it's not just through marketing apps. It's also through your mailbox provider, your main email address. Imagine you're having this conversation going back with a prospect. And this happens all the time, by the way. And you're at the point where you're sending a proposal. So you send the proposal and you wait, and the person hasn't gotten back to you. And now you're at a crossroads. Do you appear needy and call them or text them or follow up with another email? Or do you wait, and how long do you wait? And what's happening on the other side is that your email didn't get delivered, or it went into spam, and they're thinking, where's the email? Where's the proposal that this person said they were going to send to me? I'm looking at other proposals. I was going to go with them, but clearly they don't know what they're doing because they can't get their email delivered. They don't blame the ESP for blocking your email or their mailbox provider for blocking your email. They blame you. You're the one at fault, and you're the one that loses the business. And I've heard countless horror stories of people they thought ghosted them or just weren't real or didn't have the money, whatever reason, because when it was time to actually take action, they didn't. They sent the proposal, nothing happened. And a lot of times it was because that proposal went into spam.
You know, one thing to add to that, Ed, is that a lot of these businesses, 2 ticks to the right, they're making money. 2 ticks to the left, they're shutting their doors down. You know, so that 35% is just the stuff that goes to spam on business email. How about this percentage that goes to promotion? And no one ever looks at the promotion tab. So that's pretty much spam. So you're not talking about 35% of business email. You're probably talking closer to about 50%.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true. That's true.
Yeah, and again, can you afford 50% of your business going down the drain? A lot of people can't afford 5% of their business going down the drain.
And you can't afford that, especially if you're making plans, you're laying out your marketing plan and your sales funnel, and the numbers you're projecting is based on 100% deliverability, which, you know, I tell people those are dream numbers. You aren't getting 100% deliverability. It's something under that, because no one gets 100% of the emails delivered, but it's somewhere in that range of 50 to 65% of what's being delivered. So then cut your number in half, and if it's still profitable, move forward. If it's not, we need to check to make sure your emails are getting delivered. So how do you ensure that you can get your emails delivered? Well, if you do these things, you can cover 80% of the problems that you have. So the first thing is list hygiene. You have to make sure that you're dealing with a good list. And if you've had a list for any length of time, I believe about 2% of the list goes bad. Emails go bad every month. So you want to use a good list hygiene tool. Never Bounce is a pretty good one. If you do a search on the internet, you can find a bunch of different tools that will verify your email address. I mentioned Find That Lead. That's another tool. We actually use 3 different tools when we're doing lead verification, because they all give you different numbers, and you don't want to have good emails marked as bad emails. You want to make sure every email that you have costs you money in either time or dollars. And so you don't want to lose any one of those. The next thing is domain reputation. And one easy way to determine whether you have good domain reputation, it's a free tool. It's Google Postmaster Tools. And if you sign up for that, it will manage, it'll monitor your domain reputation, and you want to make sure that's always high. If you've got a low domain reputation, when you send an email, the mailbox providers see that, and then what will happen is either you'll end up going into spam or your email will be blocked. It won't even go into the promotional tab. The next one is the sender IP quality, and that's controlled by your ESP, the email service provider, or your mailbox provider. And sometimes there's not anything you can do about it, but they will assign you IPs, usually shared IPs, and you, depending upon how well your emails are engaged with, they may give you they may assign higher quality IPs to you or lower quality IPs to you. So you want to make sure that you take care of all the hygiene, the domain reputation, that you're sending emails that are getting opened and read and clicked and replied to, because those things are going to maintain your high domain reputation, and also will ensure that you are sending emails on a high quality IP. The next one is domain security. And actually that should have been second on the list, but those are your 3 primary security keys: SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. A lot of times when you're signing up with a email service provider, all the time, well, not all the time, because some service providers don't do this. They're going to want you to verify your email address with those 3 records. And mostly it's the 2, it's SPF and DKIM. If you don't verify, I can tell you for sure, when you're sending emails to Outlook accounts, those emails are definitely going into spam, because they're very strict with Outlook and Hotmail. Those emails aren't going to get delivered unless that's correct. An easy way to determine whether your emails are properly your DKIM is properly authenticated is to send an email to a Gmail account, and then you're going to look at the sender information at the top. And if it says your email via whatever marketing app you're using, that means that you're not authenticated with your domain or your email account isn't properly authenticated with DKIM. If it just says your email address, then you are properly authenticated. It's an easy, like, eyeball way to see, is my domain properly authenticated or not? There's lots of documentation with your ESPs. The only problem is the documentation is built on just you working with them. It's as if your Your emails aren't connected to any other marketing app, but it's a good place to start in understanding how to add those authentication keys to your DNS records. Then the last part, which is the thing that almost everybody thinks is the reason why emails go into spam, and generally it's not, is the content. You're using spammy type words. And we found, especially in the B2B market, that that's rarely the reason why your emails go to spam. What will happen is your emails will tend to go into the promotional tab, but which people are far less likely to see if it goes to the primary email, but more likely to see it goes into spam. So you don't have to worry so much about content. You do have to worry about all the other things that are a much bigger contributing factor to your emails going into spam. Although if you have a problem with any of the other 4 areas and you're using spammy type content, the 5 of those things combined will definitely land you into spam.
You know, one thing I want to mention is how important email. Everything relies on email. So you think LinkedIn DMs don't, but more than half of my strategy is warm email or video mail. And one advantage of using video mail, which is actually warm email with incorporated video, is that it gets about a 40% open rate on the first email that goes out. So part of my strategy for clients is to kind of use one LinkedIn account to have multiple campaigns. So you want to maximize the number of campaigns along with authentic conversations. And one of those strategies is, when do I pull them off of LinkedIn and into email? You know, for some people, it's as soon as they connect and say, hey, not many people use this LinkedIn, direct message. I'll go ahead and shoot you an email. If that's the case, then you have a campaign. You have several campaigns that happen directly on LinkedIn, but you can also have several campaigns that roll off that have a high conversion rate via warm email or warm video mail.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't really think of those things, but you should. You really should. So this next thing that I want to cover is this. I guess this is just a broad experiment. When Troy and I first talked about doing these events, we wanted to keep the cost of doing them as low as we possibly could. And it was a way to replace spending money on ads, Facebook ads, Google ads. Could we build or the really expensive LinkedIn ads? Could we build a list and generate business on a fairly low budget? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an example of one of the things that we've done. But let me set it up first. So let's say you look in your email account and you are you're looking at your emails. You see one that's interesting. You click on that email, and there's a link in there, and you click the link to see where it goes to, whether it's a sales page or a blog post or a video. You look at that, and then I'm just kind of curious if we can get some responses in the chat. What do you think happens after you've consumed that? You've gone from your email account, you're now on some page outside of your email, you've consumed that content. What's the very next thing that you do? And don't be shy, go ahead and put some answers into the chat. We don't have any prizes, otherwise I'd offer a prize.
Or accessing the free community and a bunch of PDFs and things like that.
Okay,
if they want to do stuff, they'll definitely
free tacos,
do that.
Yeah.
Free tacos, yeah, virtual tacos.
Okay, so I'm not going to put everybody on the spot. Typically, what happens is you go back to your email because you were interrupted. You looked at email, you clicked on it, you went to a page, you go back to the email your email account and look at your emails. So what we do is we send an email out. Somebody clicks on that email. They go to whatever content that we want. We figure out how long it's going to take somebody to consume it, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And then what happens after that is once they've been on there for 10 minutes, however long we think they've consumed the content, we send them a follow-up email. And that's what we did with Troy. And this is the interesting thing about this. We do this with other clients and it works regardless of scale. But if you're a B2B person and you don't have a big list, it works really well. It works really well if you've got a big list. We've got a client that has a list of over 800,000 people. And there's 187, almost 200,000 that are active. And when we use this tactic, we always get an open rate of 70% approximately, and a click-through rate of 35%. And if those numbers don't make any sense to you, if that sounds normal, it's not normal. Average click-through rate, and you can look this up on Google. You don't believe me, look it up on Google. Average click-through rate ranges between 1% to 2%. 1% to 2%, and we're getting 35%. The average open rate is 20% across all industries. We're getting 70%. Pretty good, right? Let me show you what it looks like if you're doing it with B2B, and I'll show you.
So what you're saying, Ed, is that action balanced with proper timing. So what do humans normally do when they do certain things, and the chances of them doing that? Getting a sale or relationship is a big portion of it, is how you time it.
Timing is critical. Timing really is critical. And you can't ignore all the other things that went into building the list. A lot of the people that we know have consumed some of Troy's content, have consumed some of my content. Maybe we've DM'd one another on LinkedIn. So it's not this sterile environment where we just, we're complete strangers. We have some level of awareness or a familiarity with the other person. So here's what we did. So I want you to look at the last 3 emails we sent. Don't look, I probably need to update this page here real quick, see if the numbers have changed. No, they have not. Okay, so here's what we did. We've been pre-promoting LinkedIn profile optimization to our audience. Now, not primarily the audience that are attending this event, but the audience that attended the previous event. And if you haven't done LinkedIn profile optimization, it's really important. It's free traffic. It's SEO on LinkedIn. It's free traffic to your profile with people that have put in a keyword, that probably have a problem, put in a keyword to find a professional that can help them solve that problem. And the people that show up at the top of that search list are the ones that get contacted. And
I will also add to that, Ed, it's one of the determining factors if they even want to connect with you. So it's one of the most important things to do first.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So what we found is that even though we realize how important profile optimization is, only maybe about 30% of our list thought it was important. And so if you've got to find a needle in a haystack, using email automation will help you do that very efficiently. If I had to sift through 1,000 people to find 300 that were interested, that might not be that difficult, but it's a lot of numbers to go through. Ultimately, though, there are only about 25 people that were interested enough to say, you know what, I'd love to have a conversation with you about improving my profile. And that's what happened here. So we sent out an email. This is the one here, the optimize your LinkedIn profile for Google email. 30% opened it, 3% clicked on it. So those people went to Troy's video series on profile optimization. That takes some time to consume, maybe about 30 minutes. And so I waited, a grace period, I gave people an hour, and then I sent this email, optimize your LinkedIn profile in 15 minutes. Here we had a 94% open rate. Small numbers here, 17 people, although that number ended up being a lot bigger because this particular email tool doesn't update. So whenever I sent this email out, if more people clicked on the link, and about double that number did afterwards.
Yeah, I believe it was closer to 34, 35.
Yeah. At that time. We either had to manually send them an email, but those people were tagged. We know those people that are most interested in scheduling an appointment because there was an appointment link sent in this email, to optimize your LinkedIn profile in 15 minutes. So 47%, almost half of the people that clicked and opened that, we know they're interested. Half of those people went to Troy's booking link. And so now what we have is a system where we're automatically putting the most interested people on our calendar without really any effort. We're not having to chase them. Not everybody.
So Ed, I will repeat what you're saying just for clarity. If you have 2,000, let's just say 1,000, because it's an easy number. If you have 1,000 people, you do not want to sift through 1,000 people. You want to figure out who are those 10, those 20, those 30 people that I can help, period. And this is one way of doing that. If you have 30 people that you can convert pretty easy, that's very, very valuable. So you can concentrate on those and kind of provide value to those individuals.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's no way that I would sift through 1,000 people to find 17, 20, 35 people in that list. It just, even though I know there's business there, it's just too big of a list to sort of sort through to find those people. But email automation will help you do it. Now, again, this wasn't perfect. What would have been ideal is the email goes out 30 minutes later. The second email goes out to the people who click. So the automation would be somebody opens this email, they click on the link, a tag is added, an action is attached to that, and that action is wait 30 minutes and then send this follow-up email with my booking link to those people that landed on the page. And these numbers, 94, we had one holdout that kept us from 100%. I know who you are. Go click that link.
Yeah, I get the email back and she was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
So the holdout, you kept us from having a perfect 100% there, but I'm just kidding with you. If you have email automation, a good CRM, then you can automate this entire process and you can deliver those emails faster. And if you deliver them faster, it's hard to do better than 97% open rate, but you could easily see where maybe the click-through rate might have been even a little higher than it was. So what I'm going to do, before I switch over to Lydia, who has that CRM that you could use, I'm going to mention a couple of things. One, how do you build this list so that you can put people in? Well, there's several different ways you can do it, but there's two very efficient ways. You can do LinkedIn events like Troy and I are doing. If you don't feel comfortable in front of a camera, it's not that hard to do, but if you're not feeling all that comfortable, the second best thing that you can do is LinkedIn polls. And then you want to reach out to those people that have responded to the polls in the way that you want. And you end up inviting them to be on your list. So you can do it either way. You could do it through articles and other things like that. But I find that if you have a poll, you can invite the people that participated, and you can also invite people that you want to put on your list if you have a compelling enough poll to answer the poll. And then the next step is getting them to join your list. Now, the tool that we're using here to keep our costs low is SendFox. If you're on a tight budget and you really can't afford to spend a lot of money on a list management tool, it's not a CRM, it's more of an autoresponder. It's a one-time fee for it, $49, it's inexpensive. It is not ideal. It's a starter tool. We're going to be moving over to Lydia's tool at the end of next month. So, and I would recommend, if you can afford it, I would recommend you use a robust CRM out of the gate. If you can't, if your budget just doesn't allow it, then look at you may want to look at SendFox.
I will also mention that, because we did some of these things manually, we probably lost half the numbers, So the timing, like you said, is so specific. And then some of the tools were not even tracking properly, and so I think there's a buffer of missed opportunity there.
Yeah, a higher quality CRM is better to use, but this is an experiment to start off with. We wanted to make sure it worked. It does. It works actually better than we thought.
Yeah, so one way it did work for us is when we ran this experiment, we did some pre-engagement and pre-emails prior, and we were able to get over 1,500 people registered in 3 weeks. Versus this event, we did very little. Just to see what the difference would be, and I think we have less than the third of the audience this time.
Yeah, we're figuring out what has to be done. There's certain things that you do have to do in order to make this work. And if you're interested in figuring out or learning how to run events and put the type of system that we have together, get in touch with Troy and he can talk to you about how to do that. But right now, what I want to do is talk about a very robust CRM that Lydia is the CEO. She's the CEO of the company that built it, and that CRM is Ventive. So Lydia, could you tell us about Ventive and how someone could use that tool to really take their business to the next level?
Yeah, we're down to just a few minutes before the top of the hour. So Ventive started 20 years ago, as I said at the beginning, started 20 years ago as an email marketing application. And it's grown organically over the years to be a complete business solution platform. It includes all of your marketing tools, marketing automation, all of your sales tools. It has CMS to build landing pages and websites. It has project management. We even created a document signing tool, so you don't have to pay for DocuSign. We have trouble tickets, so you don't have to pay for Zendesk or any of those. But when it comes to marketing, there are a lot of one of the many things that we've done is we've integrated prompts to remind people to do things to help them be compliant and to put their best foot forward. So, for example, if you're building an email broadcast, we'll remind you to check your DKIM and SPF settings. And it's just a little window that you click to open, you enter your domain and it tells you yes or no. And then the instructions are provided to help you go to your domain host like GoDaddy and update DNS settings. If you don't know how to do that, then we're happy to help you do that. We've also integrated 2 other tools on the back end of the email marketing tool for checking your email for for its deliverability. We integrated spam assassin for one thing. And we just include that because, again, we want you to put your best foot forward. We are very, very serious about deliverability. We have a full-time deliverability specialist who's been with us for probably more than 10 years now. And she's really, really good at maintaining the health of our IP addresses so that your emails get delivered. The tracking is extensive. If you have an email that doesn't get delivered, you'll know. If it's bounced, you'll know. There's 5 different main ways or main reasons why emails bounce, and you can click to get to create a granular list of each person whose email is bounced and the reason why it bounced, so you can go back and fix it. In the early days of email marketing, it used to be that a lot of IT departments at companies would just automatically block a lot of IP addresses, a lot of domains. And so this told you if you needed to go directly back to the company and work with them to get the IP address approved. You can create drip campaigns. You can create workflows. Workflows are associated with contacts, and a workflow can include all of the prompts that you need to nurture that relationship. So it's not just triggering emails, it's triggering a reminder and activity in the CRM to go back to LinkedIn and like a post, or send them a direct message, or if you haven't even connected yet, to do that, or to give them a call, or to send a follow-up one-to-one personal email, which you do in Ventive. The whole idea about Ventive is to collect every piece of data and have it associated with the contact, and be able to share that with other people if there are other people in your company. That's why our tagline is, we make Ventive helps you work better together, whether it's just you or a lot of people, a lot of teams. It puts everything right there in one place. So we're at 8:59. There's a lot more that I'd love to talk about. And I'd love to, actually, you say it's like, okay, SendFox is $49 to get started. Problem with that is that then you need how many more applications to run your business. Most, even small businesses, find themselves using 15 to 16 different applications.
Oh, easily. Yeah, I've used quite a few of them. And I know that your system, I've been pushing Ed, but Ed was already in the mix. And I said, Ed, we can't do this thing. And now we have to move over. So how long is it going to take you to learn it? I said, all right, we're going to use this for the next
So you get rid of,
application.
so you can stop juggling subscriptions, juggling databases, losing opportunities when you use a comprehensive system like this. And we've made a point of making it easy, transparent, and straightforward. We're not Salesforce, we're not HubSpot. We're not any of those. We're Ventive, and we make it easy to work together.
Awesome, Lydia. Thank you very much. I know we're top of the hour, and we put your information in the chat. We also put the information with the code in order to give it a discount in the trial as well. So feel free to reach out to Lydia. All her information was put in the chat. What I want to do is probably, if you can, Ed, if you can go back to the presentation to the last screen there, I want to kind of talk about this and then hit on some of the questions. The last question came up was with Yuki, and I'm probably saying it wrong. He says he couldn't hear. Yeah, it is your device. To answer your question, Yuki says I can't hear. I said, So Pooja has two questions on there, and forgive my pronunciation, but should we connect with every person who sends a connection request to us? No. You only connect with the people that you want in your network, or you see some value. So I typically only accept probably 20%, I'm guessing, of the people who send stuff to it, because depending on their profile, I don't want to be spammed, and I don't want my network to be spammed, And so a lot of times I will run personal introductions to other people in my network, and I don't want to ruin that relationship. And so people have to kind of play by those rules. I'll go ahead and go skip to your second question, Pooja, and then go back to the other person there. What can we do not to write our last name in the LinkedIn profile? You can change your name on there, but that's what you're going to be known for. You can also change the URL of your profile if you want to do it. I don't know what the problem is, but maybe you're saying that your name is very common, so when you create your account or you edit your account, you should have that option to change that on the actual LinkedIn profile. And I cannot, I'm going to say Shubra. Sorry, I'm going to shoot for that. What is the appropriate number of posts we should do in a month? Oh, well, some people post every single day. But what I say is you probably want to post at least 3 times a week. And then you also want to post appropriate times. At the beginning of this show, I gave you a link on how to post, when to post, and all that sort of thing. All that information is in there. And I'll go ahead and scroll back up, and I'll go ahead and grab that link and paste it back in there. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Here it is. It's the how, when, and what to post on LinkedIn. So I did a evergreen article on that. So go ahead and take a look at that. And they're like 7 best practices for posting. Before we talk any further, does anyone else have any questions or anything that they're concerned about or like to figure out on the fly? If you are, feel free to jump on the Q&A. Oh, we have another one. No, I don't want to write my last name. That's
So
I was asking.
I'll just say this. I will tell you that if I don't see a last name and I don't see a headshot of the person, I usually don't connect.
Yes. So Lydia's absolutely right.
Always never connect.
If your profile doesn't look right, if your network doesn't look right, if you're not in an area or we have some reason to connect, I probably won't connect with you because everyone is avoiding spam. Everyone's avoiding sales and stuff like that. So a lot of people say we want to help you, but then they really want to sell something to you. For example, I have a free booking link and I have a paid booking link, right? So on this episode, I actually have a paid booking link because if someone is serious about figuring out how to rework the system, they'll put some money into it. But a lot of times people just need 10 minutes of a conversation. So it's a little different scenario.
But if you don't have your last name and you don't have a picture, you're sending the message that you're hiding something. And you're not, and you're a bad actor that we don't want to connect with because life's short. There's too many people to connect with. Next. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same dating scenario. If you're trying to meet someone and they have a very bad attitude and they're yelling at you, you probably don't want to interact with them, and having a what I call a janky profile is kind of yelling at you like, I don't care, I'm not very high quality material, and I'll probably most likely mess with your network. That's what it really tells me. On the current screen here, we want to talk a little bit about the new event, and feel free to click that. And you can't click it because this is a screen.
In chat.
All right, we'll go ahead and put it in there. Let's see here.
It should already be there.
I will. Oh, it's already there?
It should be, but add it again.
Well, I will add it again. There you go. Bam. So if you click on that link, you can register for next event. And we have a good friend of mine, Jean Michelle. Remember when we talked about the most important thing first, your profile? Well, that's the first thing that people see. That's a large portion of why they will accept your connection. And that's exactly what we talked about. And so we'll go through some specific LinkedIn tactics as we always do. And then we'll get into creating a stellar profile. It really makes a huge difference. So feel free to go ahead and join the event for next month. And we'll have parts of these conversations and information to be put in a chapter of the LinkedIn Red Book, is which we build up every single month.
And if anybody did you answer Shubra's question about the appropriate number of posts to do in a month? Right now, you don't have to. If we didn't, Shubra, the kind of rule of thumb currently is it's good to post daily, but it's not necessary to post daily. It's better to post quality, make quality posts 2 to 3 times a week. And you don't want to step on your posts. And what that means is when you do post to LinkedIn, you don't want to post again for several hours, or it will mess with LinkedIn's algorithm will ignore the first quality post.
Yeah, it'll definitely reduce that. So you do want some space. Some people do post twice a day. Those individuals usually have huge networks though. So that's the exception. So you got to know what your network is, how your network interacts with you. And if you're doing 2 posts a day, that gentleman that has a huge network usually does early in the morning and then late in the evening, so he has at least a 6 to 8 hour window. So again, 3 times minimum is a good active number of times to post an average. And some people do post daily. That link again shows you all the different tools, what to post, what options to post, and that sort of thing. So I would definitely take a look at that. Ed, could you go ahead and go to the last slide, please? Yeah. So this is something for me specifically. If you are actually wanting to kind of need some consulting, a lot of clients need detailed consulting. Take a look at their business, figure out what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they can do it better. And so this is kind of a paid consultation. If you're serious about that, all my clients, they get between 5 and 25 bookings every single week. So we have what we call a human system. But a lot of times clients need to figure out what they really need right then and there to make that switch. So one thing, this is a 90-minute consultation. Most clients end up getting 2, but whatever kind of works for you. So you'll have a dedicated LinkedIn person, which was me. We record the session, so one-on-one. We have a written recap with bullet points of the things of action items you need to do with step-by-step recommendations. And just for this show, if you need a follow-up 30-minute consultation, we'll go ahead and tweak that depending on what it is. Most of the time they need help with the Sales Navigator targeting, understanding who their target market is, or understanding how they're going to run a sequence, or even training a VA, creating an SOP in order to train that VA in order to answer certain things for you. Matter of fact, I got to jump off because I have a call on that right now. So I appreciate everyone. I think that link's there. Let me go ahead and put it back in there. And thank you, everyone. So Ed, do you have any last words? You've been so quiet.
Last thing for everyone is, if you want to get a copy of the links, the best way to do that is you can either right-click, save and copy, or at the bottom of the chat, there's 3 little buttons. You click on one of those, you click save chat, and it'll be in everything that's in chat. All the links, all the information will be saved to your computer.
Awesome. All right. Oh, I found out I have 10 minutes. I thought I was back to back on it. But thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll see you next week. And we'll have a guest speaker on the profile stuff. And we already have a profile series out. So check my LinkedIn articles, and you'll definitely get a kind of a sneak peek what we're going to talk about. Thank you.